This weekend is a special weekend, especially this Saturday, August 17th, is International Foot Day. Happy Foot Day. And to celebrate, I'm going to do a two-part video today and as well as tomorrow so that I won't overwhelm myself and just to make it easier. And so these are the 3 shoes that I've tried up to this point, and I will discuss my experience with each of these. So first off, why would you want to wear shoes? For me, I have 4 reasons that I wear shoes. The number 1 reason was I wanted to have something that I could wear and just keep on my feet and not have to worry about putting into my pocket or storing somewhere, that I could walk from my car to my eFoil, carry my eFoil in and out of the water and protect my feet from the temperature of the sand, the concrete, and also any hazards, natural or unnatural, that might be on or lurking beneath the surface of the sand. Especially when Lake Powell was at a low water level a few years ago, and there were lots of unnatural things that were starting to pop up. You know, people accidentally or even purposely throwing garbage in the lake, and just years and years of all of the things that just kind of naturally happen from visitors coming to Lake Powell. And I wanted to protect my feet from that. So protection of my feet to and from the water and not having to worry about stowing those shoes somewhere else. That was my number 1 reason. The number 2 reason was something that I discovered later that I enjoyed, which I actually enjoy the extra grip and that the shoes offer on the board, the extra traction. And so extra grip and traction is number 2. Number 3 is protection once again, but instead it's protection from impacts on the board. The extra grip is also part of that, because sometimes in certain crashes where you might be falling toward the mast and the wings, you can push off from the board to get further away from the mast and the wings. And so that extra kick can force off the board has helped me in a few cases of making sure that I land away from the mast and the wing. But there has been a few cases where my foot has clipped the wing, for example, and having just that little extra bit of rubber or fabric on the top of my foot has made it so I wasn't going to get a bloody nick in my foot. Maybe a bruise, but that was about it. And the 4th thing, you don't have to use sunscreen on your feet. So additional protection there. That's not a big reason you would want to wear shoes, but that's an extra perk, extra benefit of not having to worry about sunscreen. So how about you? Do you wear shoes? What kind of shoes do you wear and why? And why do you wear shoes? Is there other reasons you might wear shoes while eFoiling besides myself? Maybe it's even a style reason. I've seen a few other people wear skate shoes. Got a great style going on, but the skate shoes might absorb a lot of water. So find what shoe works best for you and your circumstances and your climate and the environment and the sand. Of course, I also wear neoprene booties in the winter. I choose a nice wide toe box neoprene bootie so that I have the ability to spread my toes for that extra balance and support and stability, and the neoprene for warmth. All right, so the review of the shoes. Let's start out with the Xero Shoes Aqua X Sport. And I bought this shoe over 3 years ago, so it's seen a lot of sun, a lot of abuse, and I've even taken it out on a couple of hikes and used it for one-wheeling a couple of times, but mostly I've been using it for eFoiling. And I found this shoe because I was Googling and searching specifically a shoe that was lightweight, would dry quickly, would be thin and flexible, and it led me to the brand Xero. And it just so happened that there was a sale going on at the time, and so I decided to give these shoes a try. And while I was there at that site, I learned a lot of awesome things that changed my life, which again we'll discuss on Saturday, on August 17th. So again, this shoe has seen a lot of abuse, And you see that this blowout here on the side, this occurred last year when I decided that I wanted to be overzealous and be the first vessel through the Castle Rock cut. I'll have to put a link at the end of the video for that one if you don't know what it is. But I walked through 1 mile of mud and gunk and stickers and just all sorts of nastiness, pushing my eFoil upside down with the outdrive up, so to speak, just so I could be the first one to go from one bay to another bay through a very narrow channel. And then I walked through it again on the way back, 1 mile trudging through mud and gunk. And so that's when that blowout happened, was last year after about 2 years of use and walking through all that mud and gunk. And then this year, I started to have a blowout at the toe from my toe lifting. And so my first recommendation to the company on changing this shoe to make it better, to prevent these blowouts from happening, is to take this reinforcement rubber and to connect it all the way to this one here over and just make it more reinforced, as well as taking the toe protective covering and make it bigger as well, so that my toe and other people's toe is not going to eventually rip through the mesh. But again, you know, this mesh has seen a lot of abuse through mud and also the sun beating down on it. This is not the original color. And these soles are backed with the company's famous 5,000-mile warranty. So these soles are going to last you a very long time. The tread is pretty thick. And I'm sure some of you are probably wondering, like, isn't it going to tear up the EVA padding on your eFoil? It might tear it up a little bit, but not as bad as you might think. These shoes have a lot of mesh, so it drains really quickly. It's not necessary to have any holes on the bottom of the shoe. I actually don't like to have holes on the bottom of the shoe, which I'll talk about later as I review the next shoe. The mesh is really great, allows it to dry and drain quickly, but I wish that the mesh was even more fine, such as the mesh on this one. This one has kind of a layer of large holes and then a layer of small mesh holes, and that helps keep the sand out a little bit better. There's probably more tread than what you need for the decking of the eFoil, but if you were to buy one shoe to do it all that you could use for your eFoil and use for walking around on the rocks and cliff jumping and hiking and just, you know, one shoe to do it all, this would be the shoe that I would recommend, is the Xero Shoes Aqua X Sport. It can be potentially a bit pricey, about $100, maybe more, maybe less, depending on the sales at the time. The next shoe that I decided to buy was on sale and recommended on Amazon. This shoe had the mesh that I preferred to keep the fine sand out. However, the holes at the bottom I did not like because the fine sand would get through these holes. And you will notice that at the bottom of this shoe, there is a mesh material. And so the sand would come through the holes and get trapped, you know, under my foot and the mesh material, and it would be hard to get out. So I personally, because of the fine soft sand here, do not like any shoes with the holes on the bottom. And then the material was just a bit too thin and the toe blew out faster than the Xero shoes. I've had these for only maybe 2 years versus the 3 to 4 years of the Xero shoes. The tread hasn't really worn out too much, so the tread is, you know, a worthy, durable material for the use of going in and out of the water on the eFoil. This one I kind of tried out of a whim. It just wasn't very tight on the foot and it was very slippery. And this one is FITKICKS. I don't even know if it exists anymore, but I do not recommend a water sock like this one. And you will notice that every one of these shoes has a wider toe box so that your toes can spread. They're not going to be squished. You want to have your toes being able to spread and for proper balance on your eFoil. because, you know, we're 3 feet up in the air, well, 2 to 3 feet up in the air and balancing. And so you want to be able to spread your toes like you do with your hands to support your balance and your weight distribution as you're eFoiling. And so those are kind of the things that I've learned as I've tried these various different types of shoes. Oh, and I also wanted to quickly point out that this insole that you saw in the Aqua X Sport does not come with the shoe. This is a Neboso textured insole, which is designed to help stimulate your nerves and to just better feel your balance and pressure across your entire foot. And I'll talk more about that on Saturday, August 17th. One thing that I would advise people to test, because these are minimalist shoes with very little material and not so much foam or flotational material, you want to test to see if these float should they fall off of your feet. And so the original insole has been removed out of these shoes so that they will have a more close to the board feel. You can see there, it does not float. So flotation is something you want to test out. And if they don't float, you want to make sure that you have them good and secure so that they're less likely to fall off of your foot. Let's pull out the Neboso insole and let's see if it sinks. It does not. So this is another win for the Xero shoe. It floats in of itself even without the insole. All right, we'll see you tomorrow for the Happy Healthy Foot Foundation Day, because your foundation, if it's not right and not healthy, everything else upwards suffers. And of course, live life to the fullest.